The Rock Island Armory Model 206, let's check it out. Rock Island Armory is known for its 1911s. In fact, they should be, because they produce more 1911s than anybody in the world. Their manufacturing facility is in the Philippines, and they have been producing 1911s for a long time. I have a number of Rock Island Armory 1911s. And guys, to be honest with you, a couple of buddies of mine had them, and I really wasn't all that attracted to them because I was a Colt 1911 guy. And I do have a couple of Springfields as well. And a little bit of a gun snob at the time. But since that time, I've found the value in reasonably priced firearms that are reliable and that are accurate and that are well made, regardless of the price. Sometimes the finish is not always the best, but really what counts is the function of the pistol and the accuracy. And that's no different than this Model 206 from Rock Island Armory. One of the cool things about this pistol is, again, the price. Is we've seen revolvers, once they've kind of fallen out of the main line, of course they're still very popular today, but the prices have steadily risen, really to almost out of sight. When you take into consideration your Smith & Wesson and your Rugers. And then, of course, Colt no longer makes revolvers. And this is a very similar pistol in design, at least exterior, to the Colt Detective. One of the big things is the cylinder release. And you can see you pull it back in this back position instead of pushing it forward. And you can see the gun is unloaded. This is a really nice little nickel-plated Model 206. It is double action only. As you can see, the hammer is recessed, and you pull the hammer back and it fires the pistol. There is no single action. A lot of times pistols will have it where you can lock here, but this does not do that. They also make this in a Parkerized finish as well. And then they make a 4-inch model. This is the 2-inch. They make a 4-inch model, the Model 200. And it's more like a Model 10 Smith & Wesson, really, as far as the size. Now, one of the great things about this pistol, though, is the price. So we're going to take a look at the Model 206 and some of the features. It's very, again, reminiscent of the Colt, but yet the internals, there are some upgrades that are more like the modern Smith & Wesson revolvers. It does have a full shroud over the ejector rod, which makes it nice. It recesses it in. It's not hanging out there, and it protects it. You know, you have your deep curve in your trigger. It is a smooth trigger. All the lines and everything about this pistol just speak of concealability and being able to quick draw. One of the things great about a revolver like this is that it can be stored in a pocket and fired from a coat pocket. And so that really makes it nice because you don't have to worry about the slide action and the semi-automatic movement. Revolvers are also very reputable for being reliable because it's very simple, and you just pull the trigger and it goes bang, and then you have 6 rounds. There's not a lot of complication with these pistols. And then too, one thing that I really like are these really nice wood grips. And they're kind of thin at the top, and then they kind of bevel out, and it gives you a really nice grip. Very pleasing, very well done grips. There are some polymer type grips that they have on the Model 200. There are some people too that have looked at different replacement grips, and the Colt Detective kind of works as far as Packmeyer, but it has a little gap. And there could probably be some modifications to that if you don't like it. Me personally, I like the wood, and yes, it's a little more recoil that you're feeling when you're holding it with just the wood grips, but the recoil is very manageable. The sights are just the plain type snubby sights. Has just a little squared off notch at the back, and then a small trough, and then the blade at the front. One thing too is the action. It's very smooth. It's easy to pull the cylinder out. It goes back in very well. I mean, there's no grittiness. It's just really smooth functioning. The ejector rod, everything just speaks really of good craftsmanship. Now the finish is a nickel finish on this model, but again with the Parker eyes. There's a lot of really well finished parts on this pistol, but there are also some negatives. These are inexpensively made. This pistol runs around the $300 mark and below. And then the Parkerized finish can run anywhere from $250 down to about $235. So you're getting a very reasonable pistol. I mean, some of the cheapest Smith & Wesson snub nose revolvers are $400, and then it goes up from there. And of course Ruger as well. So you're really getting for $100, $150 less a really nice revolver and I'll tell you guys, I've already been to the range. This gun just functioned very well. But one of the things about it is the finish. There are some places and some waves, especially right in this area, inside the ejector rod housing right here. There's some tool marks, but it seems like most of the imperfections and tool marks are in the interior of the gun. But they are what they are, and that just belies, you know, this reasonable price. You know, the more finish you have, the more expense. So, you know, this is not my Smith & Wesson. It's definitely not a Colt. But this is a great gun for the car, the truck. It's a great tackle box gun, something to go hiking. And, of course, they're pretty impervious to weather. The Parkerization is a really excellent finish that's weather resistant. And then with this nickel, brushed nickel finish, it's definitely slick and weather resistant. So just a great little gun to pack away, and yet if it gets stolen or lost, it's not the end of the world. The weight on the pistol is 24.1 ounces. Now these are all steel compared to some of the alloy frame pistols. What I like about the all steel is that it has a little heft to it when you're firing the 38 Special. With that note, these are not rated officially for 38 plus P. One of the things about Rock Island has said in the past in informal areas is that you can shoot plus P, but one of the problems with shooting a lot of plus P in a pistol that's not rated, or it is even rated for plus P, is that it really wears on the pistol. So for me, I would suggest if you were going to carry this in a self-defense situation, test out your plus P, shoot a couple of boxes to make sure that it's doing right, and you can keep plus P's in your pistol, but give it a steady diet of standard 38 Special ammunition. The great thing about these pistols is they do have a lifetime warranty on them. So if you have any problems, you know, you can definitely have it fixed. And Arms Corps does have a facility, I believe it's in Nevada, where they actually make their ammunition. Here is some of the Arms Corps 38 Special, and this is the 158 grain, just regular jacketed lead round nose, probably just a wash. But these were functioning very well. These are pretty reasonable too. Arms Corps put out a lot of ammunition for a very reasonable price. And I think this box can run anywhere from about $14 to $16 a box, which is pretty good for 38 Special. The great thing about 38 Special too is there are so many different offerings. I mean, you have your jacketed hollow points, which you definitely need to carry in a defensive role, but for target, you know, the lead round nose even is great. And there are just so many different offerings because the 38 Special has been around for such a long time. Plus your 357s can also shoot 38, so that also adds to the popularity of this caliber. Now this is a double action revolver. It is made for self-defense, pull out, and fire. One of the things about it though is because it is a double action revolver, you're going to have a pretty hefty trigger pull. But one of the things about it is it's really smooth. I tested this out on my Lyman trigger gauge and I was getting about 10 to 10.5 pound trigger pull. And really guys, it's not really bad because it's so flippin' smooth. I mean, it really is smooth. And that's a lot of times some of the more inexpensive handguns can be a problem with the grittiness and just the stacking, but this trigger pull is really nice. You know, if you choose the hammer model where you can use it double or single action, from what I've read, the trigger pull on the single action is about 4.5 pounds, which is really nice. And I've also heard reports that it's a very smooth trigger pull, crisp break as well. Because of the just double action only though, that can lead to, you know, accuracy kind of being affected because it's such a long draw. But this pistol honestly is made to pull out and just to fire quickly, and it's very capable of that. With small revolvers like this, you've got to master the recoil. A 38 Special is not super snappy, but in a small frame revolver, especially one that only fires double action, it can be. And really, firing about 100 rounds at the range, it'll really wear on your hands. I just pulled the gloves out just to do it. You can do it without the gloves, but I just wanted to kind of get a feel for it. But actually, the way that the teardrop shape is on this grip, if you really put your pressure down toward the bottom, it's really not bad at all. It's when you grab it up top and you try to put a death grip on it, and it'll kind of work on the web of your hand. But that's with any of those little small revolvers, whether it's a Smith & Wesson, Ruger, or whatever. So really with the 6 shots, it kind of beats out my Centennial just because I have an extra round. Now, obviously with the revolver, they don't have external safeties because of the long double action trigger pull. But one of the things it does have is a hammer transfer bar, and the bar right here will protect the firing pin in case the gun is dropped. Now, with no exposed hammer, that's typically not going to be a problem. But it is right there, and it will protect you. Another thing too that's different from the old original Colt Detective is it had the firing pin attached to the hammer, and of course this is the more modern design where the firing pin floats in between. Now, while I'm not going to completely disassemble this pistol, I am going to take the grips off so you can see the hammer spring. The grips are, again, they're very nice, has a nice checkering on it. They are 2-piece. And here you see, this is the more modern design. The Colts have a leaf type spring here, but this is more in line with the Smith & Wesson with the recoil spring. One thing I like too is this will actually allow for a Phillips head screwdriver. So that way you're not boogering up your grips, your grip screws. The grips themselves are tight, they fit well. They're mated to the frame very well. It does come out just a touch right here at the front. Now, I've heard rumors there's a little excessive play in the cylinder, but I didn't find that to be the case. There is some play, but there's also play in my Model 442 Smith & Wesson, and it's actually the same. So it seems like a really good, solid lockup. And again, everything is just very smooth. Speaking of the 442, I brought this out to kind of give you a comparison. It is a little smaller, just a little bit on the height wise. The frame on the 206 is just a little bit bigger. This one obviously has the covered shroud. This is a 5-shot, and of course it's the push button. And then of course again, this is a 6-shot. So you're getting an extra round for a little larger size, and yet still a compact package. Also, the Smith & Wesson is an aluminum frame, so it's really lightweight. This is a great pistol. In fact, I have really, this is one of my tools. This is one of my working guns, and it has some nicks and marks on it, but I'm not a collector. I am a shooter, and this is definitely one of my favorite little snubbies. But really, taking this one out to the range, I think this one's actually a little more pleasurable to shoot because of the heft. And of course, you got your VZ grips on here. One of the things about, though, a Smith & Wesson or Colt, Ruger, Charter Arms, whatever revolver you're looking at, a lot of times there are more aftermarket support, just like these grips. whereas this does not. But again, you're looking at a very reasonable price, and you're putting a lot of money into this, and then you add on these really expensive grips and different things with the holsters and things. You know, it does get expensive. Now, as far as holsters go, this should fit any of the holsters that are made for the Colt Detective Special, and or the Police Positive with the short barrel. So that gives you kind of a good reference to be able to have a holster for this, which is important. Also, it will use the Colt Detective speed loaders in this perfectly. From what I understand, the Pacmar grips for the Detective Special will fit, and then I've seen cases where there is a small gap right here, which may need some fitting, but it should fit regardless. Some are going to find that this grip is a little bit too small to really comfortably shoot this pistol. I personally like the grip. I think with bigger hands, you're definitely going to want something a little larger. Here we have model 206, caliber 38 special, and then Rock Island Armory right here, laser etched. Serial number runs across the top, and of course the markings of the country of manufacturer, and it is in the Philippines. We're going to use an Arms Corps pistol. We can go with some Arms Corps 38 special ammunition. With these small revolvers, it's important to be able to have a good grip. A lot of people think, you know, I'm going to run out and buy me a little 38 special revolver and stick it in a drawer, and then when they need it, they find out that it really will rock them if they're not used to it. And so that's one of the things I did early on, was just take a 38 special snub nose and just shoot it a lot. And because of that, I got really used to it. We're going to put a lot of rounds through this pistol because I really like shooting 38 revolvers. So the Rock Island Armory Model 206 38 Special, thumbs way up. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America, long live the Republic. In frame. In frame.